sitting down with Lance Owide and Paul Dabrowski from BigCommerce, two awesome champions of women in our ecosystem. I will let them talk about their roles in BigCommerce, what they do. And maybe we can start with Lance, talk about your title and what you do over at BigCommerce.
Yeah, sure. Cass, thank you so much for having us on. I'm Lance Owide. I'm the General Manager for B2B at BigCommerce. Fancy title, what does it mean? I'm responsible for the success of manufacturers, distributors, and wholesalers on our platform. We support those businesses that are selling to other businesses online and doing that efficiently in a customer-friendly way. And so I'm responsible for the strategy to make it as easy as possible for them to do that, to bring often offline, antiquated processes online and make it as easy as possible for their customers to shop. I've been with BigCommerce for 3 years. Prior to joining BigCommerce, I was in finance, 4 years in investment banking and 4 years in private equity. I always say, don't hold that against me, please. I'm sorry, but I have been at BigCommerce 3 years and absolutely love the role. We are having huge amounts of success in B2B, and they're fantastic businesses that we work with, like Inhaven, one of your customers. And I love seeing B2B businesses, entrepreneurs, founder-led businesses build success online.
Great, thank you. Paul, your turn.
Yeah, so Paul Dabrowski here, Global B2B Manager. I'm Lance's partner in crime in all things B2B, responsible for also the success of not only those wholesalers and merchants on platform, but the partners. So like yourself in the agency side and also in the technology partner side. You know, the great thing about this is I sat in a unique position for a long time as creating my own companies, right? Past 10 years, doing that from a place where there was no community, where largely you had to go build it on your own, bootstrapped it at first, and then, you know, turn that into a successful B2B marketplace where I led a $12 billion company through a digital transformation and learned a lot. And learned also, too, that the idea of disruption, you know, for businesses wasn't totally right. Becoming the Ubers and, you know, maybe the Netflix wasn't the pathway for everyone. And I discovered digitally enabling the business. I thought you don't go to school for this stuff. I should go do something bigger with a bigger purpose. And I found that with my buddy Lance with BigCommerce. And so joined back in September after exiting, you know, a successful company to go live out that purpose. And that's why I'm here, for the team, for a great product, for the agencies, and for the companies that need to digitally enable themselves in a time that's so critical. You know, cost of capital is so expensive now. Buyers have changed. Technology has changed vastly. And here we are, you know, at the epicenter of it. So very excited to be here with you too. Also, thank you for having us. Also, thank you for giving women in tech a voice.
You both are not women.
No,
However, I really wanted to have you on and talk to you both because I think you are genuinely champions of women. I know, you know, fathers, daughters, and Paul, when you heard about my podcast idea, you were so encouraging, and every time I saw you, you were asking about it or proposing people I could talk to. And Lance, you're so awesome too, just willing to be in front of my iPhone at events. I would just put a camera in your face and you're like, okay, we're on.
No,
Let's do it.
That doesn't sound like Lance.
And you're great. So it was helpful for me. But yeah, I want to talk to you both about, like, you're such great supporters of women. You are really critical to Inhaven's success story. And I want to think about how I want to approach this because I think maybe we can start with Inhaven. So what do you think is unique about the Inhaven business model, maybe Ashley as a business owner, because I think you have a really unique relationship with Ashley too, both of you. So whoever wants to take that. Yeah.
Well, Ashley's amazing. Let's just say that. But discovering, you know, that she was a mom, you know, too, trying to start a business, touched my heart with the ambitions of actually creating a whole new category, right? Yeah. I mean, that was amazing in itself. But actually doing it from like a digital perspective was a new angle, because when I first learned about it, I thought, actually, why couldn't you just go down to Target, you know, or some other place and buy these things? And when she explained it to me, there was a unique problem that she was solving, you know? So from that perspective, I thought she was just, you know, smart, and in her strategy really understood the customer, because she actually was the customer. And normally that's the best place to start a business, when you are living those pains. Yeah. So it was super exciting to learn her story. And Lance, you got to pick this one up from here.
I think you really put the nail on the head, hit the nail on the head. The way that Ashley understands her customer pain points and her customers' jobs to be done, as I'll often call them. As a vacation rental owner, you have folks that are servicing your properties. How do they get and replenish the products in the house? How do they repair or get new products for those that are broken? A glass is broken, the bedding is stained. How do I get those new products? Those are the jobs to be done. And she has thought about how to bring that process into her online experience. And she's still working on that and building it, and the vision is incredible. But to be able to do that and to drive success by understanding those pain points and by solving them, I think to me it's truly inspirational. And having done that from the ground up, understood from her background what B2C excellence looks like, and bringing that into B2B is, I think, fundamental to how she's been able to achieve that. And it's just fantastic to watch as Inhaven grows, as they go through funding rounds and look to, let's be honest, turbocharge the business. And I truly believe that she will with what she's building, because she's solving the pain points of the customer. Why wouldn't you choose Inhaven when they have some of the best technology in the vacation rental space servicing area?
Yeah, and I think what makes me so excited about Inhaven and the website that we built is that it is a B2B website. However, it is beautiful and has amazing user experience to a standard of D2C. Because I think what you often see with B2B websites is they're very antiquated. They're sometimes on platforms that don't exist anymore. Things are broken. Maybe it looks like it was built in 1995. I think how Ashley has approached it, and I'm so glad she was able to kind of talk about her experience working at Tiffany's, is she has that attention to detail that comes from like years of being in D2C. Like having that experience, that shopping experience, the checklists, like curating the product assortment and having your product images be polished and have your social media be really polished. I think that is super unique in B2B. And what's your perspective on the B2B landscape right now? And I think that this is a little bit of a trend that's happening, and just curious about your perspective.
A few things, and hopefully this isn't a controversial statement, but B2B is revolutionizing. And that's happening because the buyer of today is digitally native. Yeah. B2B has often been an old boys club full of old men who meet at buying groups, and it's very insular and hard to break into. I've been at trade shows and associations and buying groups where even as the young person in the room, it's difficult to have a voice. Even harder if you are a budding female entrepreneur. And what Ashley is doing, breaking through that mold, I think is truly impressive in an area that it can be difficult to do that sometimes. And I think we do have to be honest, B2B is antiquated. It is growing up incredibly fast, and I'm so proud of where the industry is going, especially online. But sometimes it can be a little difficult when you look around the room, I think, and you see who's there. But a lot of those business owners that were fantastic entrepreneurs, built incredible distribution manufacturing businesses, are aging out. The new generation is coming in, and that new generation wants fantastic technology. They want fantastic experiences, and those that understand that, regardless of background, regardless of how they grew up, those that can deliver it are those that will succeed, and those that folks will want to work with and want to give their business to.
And the proof is in, how Inhaven is growing, and they've been around for 2 years and they have over 1,000 accounts using the website, and that number is just going up. So I think that is just kind of proof of what you're saying, that expectations are rising in B2B, and there's a huge opportunity there, especially for awesome, disruptive business owners like Ashley. And I also want to hear a little bit about, you both have families, important women in your life, and I want to hear a little bit about how that impacts your roles, how you see your jobs, if you're comfortable sharing that. Maybe Lance, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I can start. I have a 4-month-old baby girl, so I know it's fantastic. Not sleeping much at the moment.
He didn't before, anyways.
That's true. Didn't sleep a whole lot before anyway. My wife works in tech. I won't name the company, but she's actually an engineering manager.
Cool.
That can be tough.
Yeah.
That's a male-dominated industry too. And I see firsthand through her struggles how difficult it can be to get a voice when the louder voices in the room are maybe not purposefully, but are drowning you out a little. You know, how do you fight for that
or
next...
just being in the minority.
Yeah, exactly.
In your department.
Or just being in the minority. And I can say she is seriously in the minority. You know, you're talking of 100 people, a couple of people that are female in the org. And I think that is not uncommon across a lot of the industry. And I think that has to change. I think that needs to change. But it can be difficult, you know, advocating for yourself when you're looking around and there aren't many people that are female that you can look up to as leaders and say, that is what I'm driving for. That is what success looks like. And here's how I can get there. And they can help guide me along that journey. I approach, you know, I think it's difficult as a husband to guide your partner, you know, who's having those struggles, who does feel marginalized on occasion, to guide them through it. I try my best. And you spoke with Kenzie earlier, and I think she's just a fantastic female leader at BigCommerce. She's a fantastic female leader in the e-commerce industry more generally, and an amazing advocate for, you know, what is possible. And you know, there can be occasions where she'll come to me and say, hey, look, I had this difficult conversation. I'm feeling like that could have been because there was, you know, some misunderstanding in the way that things were communicated. How should I approach resolving this? And I do my very best to advise, you know, how to work out those situations. But I think it's difficult when you look around the room and there aren't necessarily the female leaders that you want to strive to be like. But you're kind of talking about the women in my life. My mother was a businesswoman. She worked incredibly hard. She was the breadwinner in the household. She actually had me and went back to work 2 weeks later because she needed to.
Wow.
Because she had to bring in the paycheck. And so I look up to her and everything that she did in her career, the sacrifices she made, and I'm so appreciative of it, you know. And so I had a really strong female leader in our household that really gave me my sense of drive, and she taught me how to work hard. I like to think I keep that up today and keep her drive and her passion. She was in retail, and obviously not quite in retail, but in B2B in e-commerce, and I feel like I bring the same kind of passion that she did to the industry.
Awesome. And does that resonate with you? Can you tell me?
Yeah, 100%. So I think the strongest, you know, example of leadership, you know, in my young upbringing has been my mom, right? Just like Lance. And I grew up with 3 sisters, right? So I always had these expectations early on to kind of be a man of the house, right? But I had women kind of guiding me through that. The examples that were given to me at the time were to be, you know, respectful, right? Trustworthy. And it was just these things that resonated with me early on that were what I wanted to be able to give to my daughters, you know, now that I'm raising young little women leaders, like I like to say. So you kind of look at what examples you have, and you're a teacher, you know, particularly I feel like as a dad. It's the best thing in life for me. And it really, I have to reconcile with it every day, you know, as I grow up. Am I showing them the right examples? So I look for those. And I can say that I am proud to have some really strong leadership, but I had really great examples of what leadership looked like from a woman's perspective that I could share. Now, I don't know what it's ever going to feel like to be a woman in tech, but I have to raise 2 young daughters that might potentially have to come into this industry or into another one that might be male dominated, that might be of really strong interest to them and how they're going to navigate that. So having really strong women leadership examples, I think is the best way to prepare my daughters for what is in front of them potentially. They're at an age that's different than mine. I recognize that. A millennial here, a Gen Z here. And so things are going to look a little different for them in the future, I hope. But they'll be a part of that change as well. But it's going to start with the foundation that, you know, yourself and others are going to change, right? We're going to start to accept that, right? And we're going to do something about it, I hope early on, but that they're going to be able to continue that, right? So yeah, it's really important to me. I think it's one of the most important things we can do is to give back. This seems like the right thing to do, but also there seems to be a lot of women that want to come into tech and have you talk about fostering a culture. We talk about it all the time for businesses to be able to do that. We need to be able to do that as leaders in the industry. And what does that look like? It looks like this, having a conversation around the matter, right? And it is a real thing, that we have to address. We look to empower more women at BigCommerce to be able to speak up. We have some great women leadership. You'll hear it from Colleen or Lauren, who run some of our best partnerships. Mackenzie, who's here running product engineering for us, who are behind the scenes, but now are getting a voice, feeling comfortable to share that too, even if they've got a fear of public speaking.
She did an amazing job.
Amazing. I'm so proud of her.
That's like part of how I know you guys are such great champions. Like I wouldn't have met Mackenzie had you not, introduced me to her. And she is doing such amazing work for your team. And, she is so humble. And I want to give a platform to people who are doing amazing work like that, who wouldn't maybe otherwise be talking about what they're doing. And I think it's really important to have people in your life and on your teams, like your leaders, your team leads, who can put you on a pedestal a little bit and do that for her. And so I'm very grateful for the introduction to Mackenzie. Also, we're actually here in Austin, Texas for BigCommerce's annual Partner Summit. There have been lots of amazing people that I've been meeting and really cool things that have been rolled out or announced, technical rollouts announced here at the summit. And I would love to maybe hear from you both about some that you're really excited about, maybe for B2B, like BigCommerce B2B, or maybe your thoughts about the summit in general. Yeah,
I thought that the summit was fantastic. It was the first time that we brought together partners and customers, and we held it at the historic ACL Live venue where folks like Willie Nelson have played and fantastic artists.
Cool. Yeah, it was just super cool.
It was very cool. I was behind stage. The signed posters backstage they were incredible. It was very, very cool. So an amazing venue, an amazing setting. It was a fantastic event. Voice is a little hoarse. It was fantastic to meet so many partners and so many customers and have Ashley on stage with us actually as part of a panel discussion alongside some other fantastic customers.
Mackenzie was on stage as well.
As well. You're right. And she did an incredible job announcing B2B product roadmap. And you kind of asked what excites me. There are a couple of things in the B2B space as well as those things outside. And we have an incredibly strong product roadmap, in particular for B2B. The area that we're focused on at the moment is on the sales team. How do we make the lives of BigCommerce customers' sales teams, manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, sales teams, more efficient? Whether that is sending emails, responding to quotes, how do we make that process easier such that the sales team can get time back, that they can focus on other higher value, higher order tasks like cross-selling, upselling, finding new customers? And how do we improve conversion? And so we will not list out a list of products and features that we're working on, but around things like quoting. We're going to be pulling AI into our quoting tool such that the sales reps who are sending hundreds potentially of quote responses a day can write them with AI. They don't have to write the email. It'll be written for them and they can just proofread and hit send. That can save hundreds of hours within a week for that salesperson that they get back to spend with customers on the phone. And that's really, really important, right? And so that's where we're focused on the sales rep, improving their customer, the experience that they're giving for the customer. One other area that I'll highlight as well, and for those that are into e-commerce and into commerce, we're focused on making it as easy as possible to get live with headless and composable storefronts. So those are big, complex words, but effectively they describe a storefront that is decoupled from the back end. So you want to use best of breed technologies to power your storefront. We're seeing more and more of it in B2B. And at BigCommerce, we launched Catalyst, which is our reference architecture for launching a headless storefront. And at this big summit, we showed for the first time how you can deploy a headless storefront on a BigCommerce backend with the click of a single button. That is incredible. No other e-commerce platform out there has ever done that before. We are paving the path for what the future looks like in terms of building the best e-commerce experiences. And again, for those who aren't familiar, when you build headless, you can create much more personalized and engaging experiences on the front end. They're incredibly fast sites to run. And so I'm really excited about kind of those two areas, one that's specific to B2B and then one that's a little bit more general to both D2C and B2B.
I'm excited for the MakeSwift to, merge with B2B as well. I think Inhaven will really take advantage of that when that gets rolled out. And shameless self-promotion, but Cronix launched the first Catalyst website. Amadora. So if you want an example of a great headless website in the jewelry industry, please check out amadora.com, and I'll put a link here or something. I don't know.
Put it all over the place.
You dropped MakeSwift there without sort of leaving the background. MakeSwift is
thank you.
our visual editor for e-commerce sites, and it can actually be used for more than e-commerce sites. But we acquired that business last year, and we will be integrating it into Catalyst. So you deploy that headless site with a click of a button, and then you're able to drag and drop, plug and play with a headless storefront. Again, that is at the bleeding edge of what's possible in e-commerce, integrated into an e-commerce platform. Really, 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 really fantastic technology that's going to make it easier than ever to build both D2C and B2B sites, because B2B will be fully integrated into that. So if you're building quoting, like I mentioned, you click the quoting module, you drag it onto the page where you'd like to see it. Done.
Interface as opposed to 500 tickets to your web dev team and then $3,000 and 6 weeks later.
Exactly.
I'm very excited for that. Very exciting developments there. Paul?
But just to add to that, so at the presentation layer, with Catalyst, MakeSwift being that acquisition that, we're integrating so nicely into the platform, well, we also had to do something on the B2B side for the enterprise, and what we did was big and game-changing. And we call it open source buyer portal. For the first time, and I wish I had this, when I was helping a company that had 55,000 employees with all these brands, and you can imagine how many shipments we were doing for a $12 billion entity. A lot. It's quite complex. But to build something back then was very costly. You only had monolithic systems to do it. And so we're at an age where we now can democratize, right? From enterprise grade solutions, very easily now deploy a bespoke buyer experience with Catalyst, MakeSwift, and the open source buyer portal. So those are the things that are going to propel BigCommerce, but really propel the businesses to digitally transform themselves that couldn't do it before, that had to go build it themselves, like myself. To say those words is like kind of a moment where I'd love to sit back and, take a deep breath, because I know what it means to be on that side and to have those costs. And this is what keeps, CEOs and the C-suite up at night, because the cost of capital, like we started this conversation, is a lot more expensive. And the reality is that, the pace at which you innovate is, largely tied to how you're going to be maybe profitable or not, own the customer experience or not. And these are things where we had enterprises that were $2 billion, to $60 billion in rev that were trying to do it on their own. And when we introduced it to them, now they're fully deploying their stores, whereas before they were doing out of the box functionality mixed with building on their own. And we've reduced that development time, the total cost of ownership, and they're getting the ROI already back. And we're talking about reducing maybe years worth of work down to a few months or less, for deployments on enterprise solutions. Some things that you've just never seen before, right? Something that might have taken you an entire year to do before, and you might have done it wrong, but you might also had to have continuous debt associated with it, and not the adoption for the feature sets, because you didn't know what was going to be adopted. Well, we packaged up everything that works today, core to B2B, and put it in that open source buyer portal. 100% open source. You can go contribute to it today. You're building on it as well. And that's what gets me excited, that we're expanding now what's possible for businesses. It's what gets me up in the morning.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You're both so busy, but really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedules and being such a champion of women, being such a supporter of what Deep and I are trying to achieve here and my project with this. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for listening.